Hey there everyone, this is Jeff Perkins with JD Cutlery putting together a nice little intro to the new Reate T1000 Terminator. This thing is an overbuilt beast. Definitely very unique in its design, and the newest in the lineup of Reate knives. So, very, very interesting. It's got a couple nice new features, something very different. The first thing you notice is it's got two studs that protrude out the sides. Those two studs can be pushed in, and it makes it so the lock or the blade will not deploy or fold. You push up on this back spring or lock release, and it pushes both of those buttons out at the same time. So as you slide that up, you then can operate that monster. And I am totally in love with the sound of the flick, the power of that heavily overbuilt well, no, it's not an M390, it is a CPM 3V blade. So that thing is just a super thick beast of a blade that comes flying out of the handle. Great operation. Push those buttons in, and there's no way to fold this in. You can still move the lock bar a little bit, but what's going on is those two pins are going into a slot in the blade. So I'll deploy it and I'll show you those two pins in the closed function. You push those pins in and you see how they've protruded into the hole in the blade, locking it in position. So it's doing that same exact operation when you have the blade in the open position. So very nicely done. There are two springs in that lock that allow it to come right back into position. Then you've got a mechanism in here that's sliding up that goes underneath those pins to push it open. I've already taken this one apart, so I'll give you a quick view. There are the two springs on each side, and this is the piece that slides forward to unlock it. Those two, that slide piece has a little pinhole here, actually a pin there, that goes into the pin slide here, which pushes up and pushes the internal mechanism in here to push the pin open. Now that pin, when it comes out of the knife, you've got most of the pin going in. Actually, you don't put it in, well, yeah, you do put it in like that. Put the pin in like this. Drop that in there, and there's a couple little grooves that goes in, and then you've got this little collar that then holds that in place. And once you wiggle it around a little bit, that collar, actually it's a little easier if you do this in the collar piece. So you get that sitting in there so that those little pins are sitting in the collar, and then when you go to put it back in, you just slide it right back in, and then everything seats back in so you can push it open and closed. So this little piece here, again, that slides up and back, pushing in on the pin and allowing it to be pushed in or come out. So there we go, got that all the way back in, so it's pushed in. When you slide that up, it pops it back out. So you slide that little thing up and it pops that pin out. So definitely a very different locking mechanism to give you kind of that double lock action on a folding knife. So in theory, you are getting a double strong lock when it's in that locked position like that. There's no going forward with it, and even if your thumb did in some way push on that, it won't allow you to go so far that it opens totally up. So as the piece slides, it comes right up against your pivot collar, and it won't allow it to open all the way. So that's with the pins in, and they're engaged in both sides of that blade. Push that forward, pops those pins out. So definitely a very unique operation. I'm a fan of some overbuilt knives. This one, I really like the sound of that. As it flips open and engages, it's pretty insane. So overall specs on this one, you're looking at 9.1 inches, closed length 5.3 inches, and the blade steel is a CPM 3V. Of course they come bead blasted, satin finished, and of course we are going to change that all up as I start working on these. Blade length on it is 3.5 inches, and the blade thickness is a whopper, man. That is one thick blade coming in it at 0.236 inches. Hardness is 61 to 62 HRC, and of course your titanium handles. Just an amazing design. I really like that pocket clip. It does come in and out of the pocket nicely. So very unique, interesting design. Definitely it'd be fun to play with. I will probably carry one of these for a while. The only thing that might be a possible con on this one, other than if you're not into a heavy knife, the only con you might have is if those do get pushed in while it's in your pocket, you can't just open it right up. You've got to pull it out of your pocket, push that forward, then go to your flipper. The studs are strictly up against the frame. I don't have a strong enough thumb or enough room to get behind that. The hole in the blade is just a little back as well, and I can't quite finger flick it either. So it does appear to be a flipper only, but man, this thing has just got so much power as it flips open. So if you are a person that's looking for a knife that's got stronger than just a standard frame lock, that extra locking capacity, and you're into the bigger overbuilt knives, this is definitely going to be your cup of tea. I personally am pretty excited about this one. I think it's going to be fun to play with. Like I said, I just can't stop flipping it, and I can't wait to get working on some of these because there are so many different layers that I will be able to polish, anodize, and just give a super additional look to. I am really excited. These are going to be fun to do. I like that back spacer. Got that nice cutout with a little bit of jimping in it. You can see through. Pull this over here. You can see through the cut in the back of it. And you do have good size screws. This is not made with cheesy little screws, that kind of thing. You're looking at a T10 Torque screws, are all the main screws on it. And then of course, once you get into these internal operating pieces, you're at a T6. I will be taking this all apart. I haven't done that quite yet. Haven't really taken it 100% apart. And I tell you what, I've got the time, so let's go ahead and pop these screws off real quick and get a look at that slide mechanism. I don't usually take the time to take things apart while on video, but I'm sure people are wondering what's going on in there. This is definitely not a beginner knife. If you are one that is not used to taking knives apart, I highly discourage taking this one apart, because just that locking pin and the collar on the other side are kind of a pain in the butt to get back in place. So if you don't know, you're not mechanically inclined and you don't have a good idea of how these things work, I would highly discourage taking one of these apart. So I just took the collar out. It's down there with a pin in it. Gonna push that little sleeve. Wow. Okay. So I did not expect to find a gear mechanism inside of there. That is pretty freaking cool. So the internal mechanics has a gear that's mounted on a pin. It's going to go back and forth on that little rod, turning the little teeth on this. Man, okay, that Reate has taken it to a whole nother level with the design here. Of the complexity of this thing is insane. Wow, talking about a part that would be easy to lose. Look at that little tiny gear. That is pretty crazy. So, as I said before, not a beginner knife to take apart. You do have your steel washer that the bearings run on. So that'll have to come out when I do my work. Of course, your lock bar insert, so you got your steel on steel. I am pretty impressed. The mechanics that went into the design of this and the fit and how all these little tiny pieces go together is very, very impressive. So, very interesting. I can't wait to get some work done on these. I do have a few stock versions available on the website. If you're interested in one that's stock, they are there. You can already purchase them. But I can't wait to do some serious custom anodizing on these, because I think they are going to turn out just beautifully. Well, thank you for tuning in. Definitely keep an eye on the website to see what all we have coming next. I do have 10 Reate XOMs that I finished up, and another probably 12 that I'll be working on. So there's going to be a lot coming to the website, but this is not the star of the show today. It is definitely the new T1000. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.